Kevin McCarthy is finally Speaker of the House, but at what cost? He owes his entire speakership to Matt Gaetz and 5 other far-right Republicans who effectively handed him the gavel on a technicality. California Republican Kevin McCarthy finally fulfilled his dream of becoming Speaker of the House. 3 days, more than a dozen ballots, and one national humiliation later than he expected it to happen. Worst of all for McCarthy, he owes his entire speakership to Florida Republican Representative Matt Gaetz and 5 other far-right Republicans who effectively handed him the gavel on a technicality, and the cost of winning that seat could be much of the power that previously gave the Speaker's role its outsized influence on Congress. Early on Friday, the House Republican leader had cut a deal with more than a dozen House rebels, one which would entrench the power of the far-right House Freedom Caucus. McCarthy announced that he had reached a deal with Representative-elect Chip Roy of Texas, a leader of the Republicans who'd withheld support on a call with Republican caucus members on Friday morning. After winning the support of 214 Republicans in the first round of voting Friday, the 12th overall, Representative-elect Andy Harris of Maryland flipped to McCarthy on the 13th round, still leaving McCarthy 4 votes short of the majority. 2 pro-McCarthy Republicans, Wesley Hunt of Texas and Ken Buck of Colorado, missed voting due to family and medical issues, but returned to D.C. Friday night to help elect McCarthy. But even after the House gavelled back in the late Friday night, McCarthy's the path to the speakership was punctuated by one of the wildest scenes on the House floor in American history. On the 14th ballot, 4 anti-McCarthy votes stuck together while Gaetz and Boebert voted present, continuing to deny an exacerbated McCarthy the speakership. Gaetz engaged in heated conversation with McCarthy and his allies. After McCarthy walked away, Representative Mike Rogers of Alabama lunged at Gaetz. Republicans then moved to adjourn until Monday, but amid the chaos, Gaetz and McCarthy struck a deal, and on the 15th and final ballot, all 6 of them remained holdouts voted present, giving McCarthy 216 votes, and a slim majority of the 428 ballots counted towards the total. As House Clerk Cheryl Johnson read McCarthy's name in the tally following the 15th ballot, the new speaker yelled, "Finally!" McCarthy had said that after the House adjourned Friday afternoon, that he was confident he'd finally win the election. Quote, "We'll come back tonight, and I believe at that time we'll have the votes to finish this once and for all," end quote, McCarthy told reporters. He said, "This is the great part because it took this long. Now we learned how to govern." The original deal McCarthy struck with the holdouts reportedly lowers the threshold to force a vote on vacating the chair, effectively a no-confidence vote in the Speaker of the House, to just 1 member, according to NBC News. This means that it will be much easier to kick McCarthy out of the job he just won. The deal also reportedly gives House Freedom Caucus members key slots on the House Rules Committee, as well as other committees, including to NBC News and caps discretionary spending for 2024 at 2022 levels, putting programs such as Social Security and Medicare on the chopping block. It also means a possible government shutdown over the summer when the U.S. hits the debt ceiling. Previously reported details of negotiations include that the Political Action Committee tied to McCarthy will stay out of open house primaries in safe Republican districts, which could clear the way for even more right-wing members to be elected to the House. McCarthy denied Friday that all of the concessions that he made so far will weaken his position as Speaker. Quote, "Has it undercut the power of all the other speakers," end quote. McCarthy told reporters, he said, "I would only be a weaker speaker if I was afraid of losing." It's so far unclear what Gaetz had the final holdouts secured in exchange for the present votes. McCarthy is the first incoming speaker in 100 years to win the position on multiple ballots, and there were more rounds of voting this time around than at any point since before the Civil War. And the maneuver to vacate the chair has already claimed the job of one recent Republican speaker John Boehner, under whom McCarthy served under a House Majority Leader at the time. Boehner resigned in 2015 after future White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows filed a motion against him. The inability of Republicans to elect a Speaker of the House also hamstrung the work of the House of Representatives for several days. Effectively, there was no House of Representatives, though members were supposed to be sworn in on Tuesday. That process happened after a speaker has been elected. Representative-elect Greg Kasser, a Texas progressive who's entering his first term in Congress, told Vice News Friday that his office had already begun handling constituent phone calls, even though he has not yet been sworn in, but the lack of a speaker, the rules package, or any actual member of the House has complicated things for would-be House members and their staff. Some people have had trouble with emails access or getting different parts of the federal government to be responsive. Folks are worried about whether they have to make purchases to set up their offices. Representative-elect Greg Kasser, Texas progressive, who's entering his first term in Congress, told Vice. He says, "I'm worried there might be federal employees who might not get paid if this drags on." Representative Don Bacon, Nebraska Republican and McCarthy supporter, said a federal agency told his staff the same thing, and that he and another House Republican were barred from a classified intelligence briefing for the same reason. "A handful of members are holding us hostage from doing our jobs and are putting our national security at risk," Bacon tweeted. Sarah Selip, a communications director for incoming GOP Representative-elect Brandon Williams of New York, said that she was unable to even unlock her computer. Now, it's troubling not just because they said we can't do people's business and pass laws in response to crisis, Caesar said. It's troubling because it foretells the extreme right wing of Congress is willing to break the institution to get what it wants and will do anything it takes to cut Social Security and cut Medicare and take apart basic components in the federal government that we worked for so many generations to build. This is on Vice. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. It's by Paul Blessed. Thank you. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.